Hello, everyone. We are MonteSim, and our group consists of myself, Ivette, Victoria, Dhruv, and Ernst. So the problem that we're looking to solve with our senior design project is the fact that a lot of students from underprivileged and low-income communities struggle with the decision of whether or not they should go to college and wonder if they'll be able to even afford it. These students often end up more in debt than they can handle because of the lack of resources that they have to help them handle those finances. So to the right, you'll see what the start and finish view is for the user. And on the bottom is just a little snippet of what behind the scenes might look like. And we'll go more in depth throughout the presentation. So our solution is a comprehensive software for these students to help them plan out their college career and their plans and help them financially plan out their future. So the software begins by taking some inputs from them to simulate their personalities, and then it goes into incorporating different expenses such as school costs, living expenses, and how many children they plan on having in the future. And then we also decided to incorporate the probability of a pandemic happening. And finally, we give the student their probability of financial success from the inputs that they provide us with. So our motivation and vision for this project was basically to give back to our communities and to support underprivileged students like ourselves. We also want this to help close the racial wealth gap. Our software is only a piece in tackling this issue of the racial wealth gap. And another way to solve this issue is tackling racism within the job market. And that will be done obviously outside of our software.
So Monte Carlo simulation has helped predict parameters to optimize a mathematical model in a biomanufacturing experiment. And then we are going to be utilizing Monte Carlo simulation to help simulate those probability of successes for our users. And in addition, we have developed a survey based on a research paper that will rate students based on their approach to different situations. So for our science part, we have the survey and the Monte Carlo simulation itself. So the Monte Carlo simulation will simulate the probability of successes based on user input and as well as factors of uncertainty. And some of those factors of uncertainties is, for example, a pandemic. And then for our technology portion, we're going to be utilizing PHP and HTML to extract user information. And we will take that and convert that to a standard text file, which will then be inputted into our Monte Carlo simulation. So this is just our front end view of our project and what the user would see.
So the purpose of including a survey was to be able to accurately collect essential data to help mimic the user and then essentially providing a student rating. This student rating is going to take into account several characteristics that a student has, and this will either increase or decrease the level of income they'll receive. The way the survey is broken up is that there are 4 categories and 5 questions per category, making it a total of 20 questions. Um, the risk that we have is that our data may not be 100% accurate because we rely on 100% honesty. So if the student aren't honest, then our data isn't accurate. This is what the survey would look like. The questions are to the left, and the possible answers that you could provide are to the right.
These are just the formulas that we utilized in the Monte Carlo simulation. So it starts with the survey range that we broke into 3 parts that affect the salary that Ernest was saying. And then we did calculations for the variance, standard deviation, the loan cost, and the kid costs using school and salary and expenses are all randomized. And as far as the pandemic is randomized up to 1%, since research shows that there's a 1% chance of a pandemic happening annually. And of course, this would affect the salary by taking 25% away from it, since that's based on real life experience of us. And then that'll all be calculated to the finished salary, and the end of year 10 will be calculated from here with the take home year values. So this is just a chart that will show of a demo in the next slide. So this is just the path that we'll be showing, and it's going to be like the greatest path you can take with the high total probability. So this is the user interfaces where they'll be inputting their answers as we showed in the other survey slide. And so from there, they'll also be inputting their education information and their future costs, such as kids, future state for living, and home costs. And all of that will be taken into the Monte Carlo simulation, which is populated here. And so since this is a good run, everything is highly likely and you're at the top score of 100. So of course that'll put you in the high salary range, whichever career choice you would choose. And if you get a neutral score on the survey, you'll be in the medium range, and a low range on the survey puts you in the low range of the salary. And the standard deviation is calculated there from the variance in the different salary ranges. So be here in the multicolor inputs from the different factors that are inputted in, and the cost of living in the state, and the salary is shown there. In the actual simulation, the salary was put on a normal distribution since it's not constant for whichever career choice you choose, and those are the expenses. And as far as the pandemic is iterated from 0 to 1, and the years in school is iterated from 3 to 6. And the cost of living is shown here for New Jersey since that's what was inputted. And let's say you had a kid in year 4, since it's randomized, you'll see that the kid cost is $217K. In comparison to year 7, you'll see it's $113K, showing the more you invest in having a kid, the better it is. And then the pandemic status is just calculated on this tab right here. So the salary takes into account investment, raise, loss of taxes, and loss of pandemic. And then your starting salary is shown here, and the pandemic is randomized. So here's an example where pandemic happens. So that means you only get 75% of your salary. And that's all taken into account over the 10 years, and you get your take home money there. So that's all shown in the Monte Carlo simulation. And you'll see that's the future worth at the end of 10 years, and then the future worth after having kids, and the future worth of having a house down payment, since you have to give 20% to the bank. So you'll see the probability is 1, meaning 100%, since this is a really good path. But if you change the factors to 5 and no family contribution, you'll see that the probability actually decreases to 81.8%. So these are just the factors that we use in our simulation. We use sensitivity analysis to validate it, meaning that when they input something, it'll either affect the probability by decreasing it or increasing it in a way that makes sense, and how it would affect other factors.
As for the testing portion, we had some high school seniors and alumni fill out our software. And as you can see on the right, that those were their submissions and their inputs. And after asking the alum if this software accurately represented their state now, they said that it did. So we use that as a good benchmark to say that our software works pretty well for these high school seniors.
So the way we went about managing our project is that we tested consistently just to make sure that everything was accurate and made sure that everything that we researched was true. We met weekly with our advisor to discuss potential risks and the solutions to those potential risks in the event that they do occur, as well as dividing our project amongst ourselves so that nobody was too overwhelmed.
So our punchline is MonteSim is a software to help underprivileged students on their path towards a college education and a financially stable future. These students don't often receive college resources to help them figure out which career path they want to follow. And also, financial analysts are expensive. Our software will give them insight on their career choices and will show them their probability of being financially stable a few years into their future by including expenses such as children, housing, and much more. Let us help you plan out your future.
Today.
Before we end, we just want to give a special thanks to Professor Wicks and Professor Jafari for helping us through our challenges as well as risks. And now we will open up the floor for any questions you guys have.